in an uncertain time like this as well, and then as well, we really need to see what are the key basics, what are the fundamental of my business. And what we're seeing is when a lot of business owners, they producing some money, they have some team or staff working for them, they sort of take the back seat, and which really affect them in a very long term.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Make It Happen show. I'm Tim Morris, the CEO at The Entourage. Today, I'm joined by Sunil Kumar, the CEO and founder of Reliance Real Estate. Sunil has built a great business over the last 11 years. He's now got 150 people across 10 offices. He's also written a really good book called From the Ground Up, which has got 7 principles for building a business fast. So in this episode, we really cover some of the building blocks that Sunil's used for Reliance, but also covers in the book. A lot of great lessons here for anyone building a sizable business. Let's get into it. Sunil Kumar, fantastic to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm really good. Apart from this COVID thing, things are going fine. Things are going really good.
That's really been what we've all been saying for the last 2 years, now into 3 years. But I hear you. How I mean, actually, on that front, you're in real estate. You've got an amazing business. We're going to talk about the journey, but how are the current times really affecting you? What are some of the challenges?
I think some of the challenges what we're finding is the uncertainty. Like the
Hmm.
real estate, especially in the last 6 months or last half of the last year, has been done amazingly well. You must have seen the properties gone up 15-20%. But I think the challenge is coming now in this year because they're gonna slow down, or the
Mm-hmm.
property market is gonna take on toll. It is unsustainable what's happening there at the moment. And apart from that, the biggest challenge as most of the business is facing is the team, the staff, the
Mm-hmm.
people. It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
find with the with and even your own current people. It's very uncertain time, like at least 40% of our current workforce already had a COVID. Some are going through that 1 week of kids having COVID. So it's very sort of uncertainty, and then you can't really execute at the moment. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's very challenging, and I think in a challenging time like this we need to be very careful, like how we communicate with people. We don't hurt their feelings, and making sure we allow them some time as well, to recover and get back on track.
Mm, mm. Well, hopefully we're coming to the period where people will be starting to get back on their feet and recovering. I'd love to talk about the Reliance journey because it's really impressive. You guys have been in business for, I think it's almost 11 years. But right back in the beginning, in the early
Yeah.
days, you were losing money every single month. I think 2 years in, it was still looking pretty bleak. And fast forward to
Yeah.
today, and now you're one of Australia's fastest growing real estate companies. So, what are some of the secrets to making that happen?
I think it is the very first one is I think in a year and a half and 2 years, as you rightly said, we were losing money. I had a business partner at the time. Not blaming him for things, but we are two different minds. We were. He was
Mm,
thinking north. I was thinking south. I was in the business. He was more investor. So we really didn't match with our mindset. So that's
hmm
a very first thing, and then slowly he exited the business, in his own terms. So since then, actually, it's becoming my baby. Like I was the one who
hmm
really gonna make it happen, make it or break it. And that's where I think I
hmm
went to a very basic fundamentals. And every time it happens, I think, like in an uncertain time like this as well, and then as well, we really need to see what are the key basics, what are the fundamental of my business. Fundamental of my business is
hmm
getting in touch with the clients, making sure cold call, making sure filling up the pipeline, prospecting, and then listing properties and selling. Really, and I think I fall in that trap as well. When most of us, when we start a business after 6 months or 12 months, dealing with the suppliers, and we really have less time with
hmm
the for the clients because they are the one who actually paying the bills. But there are other things to be done as well.
mm
So one of
mm
the two fundamental things happen. One of those is business partner exited, and second one is I really try to win my time back. So I hand over all the non-productive activities to my office coordinator, and I tried my every hour of the day making sure I get in touch with the clients, filling up my pipelines, do the prospecting, and really built it that way. And I think what I
mm.
did then is still in my routine. Every evening, at least for 90 minutes, I have that calling session where I am
Hmm.
either calling my team, really finding out what's happening, what are the challenges they're facing, or most importantly, I'm still in touch with some of my major clients, seeing what's they're doing, how we can close a better deal, and just helping the team really to close more deals. So that's become in last 9 years. I hardly miss a day where I don't prospect for 90 days, and that's the biggest
Oh,
lesson. I think
excellent.
it's one of the biggest thing what we learn, or it still stays with me. And that's one of the thing, Tim, because that the thing, the 90 minutes prospecting becoming the number one thing for Reliance to success. It's not only me doing it now. Like when I was doing it, my team slowly seeing it, the result, they doing it. Like everyone in sales, 90 minutes prospecting is our number one thing.
Let's drill into this in a little bit more detail then, because yeah, I loved it in your book. You talked about one of the key turnaround strategies from going to, you know, not making the money that you needed to actually getting on the front foot was just getting back to the basics of prospecting. And you said you put aside, you said 90 minutes every evening, prospect, prospect, prospect. Sounds like so you're still doing that as a ritual. Now who you're prospecting or who you're speaking to is changing slightly as you evolve, but that's like one of your key fundamentals. 90 minutes a day.
Very true, very true.
So, what strategies would you give to people? What suggestions would you give to business owners just to help them hit the phones and prospect every day in, day out?
I think that's really staying in the foot for, at the front of the organization. If doesn't matter how busy you are, you can still find an hour to 90 minutes. And what we're seeing is when a lot of business owners that they producing some money, they have some team or staff working for them, they sort of take the back seat, and which really
Hmm.
really affect them in a very long term, you know. So I mean,
Hmm.
now I still talk to my previous clients, some of the new clients as well, but I get to see what is a trend happening, how they,
Hmm.
and my team sees it still. And so I think that's setting up the rhythm for the whole organization.
Hmm.
Two things, it's really really fundamental for us, is learning and growing as an organization, training and development for the team, like learning and growing. And the second
Hmm.
one is the prospecting. And that's like, yesterday I had 11 new team members started in sales. So we have this
Hmm.
4 to 5 times a year where we started everyone together. So I think these are the fundamental we're teaching them. Like every day, in the
Hmm.
beginning, they need to do 3 to 4 hours, like couple of hours in the morning hours and couple of hours in the evening, just to make sure they
Hmm.
built their pipeline, they built the future business. And that is the very
Yep.
reason, even on the COVID, most of the organizations, or especially real estate, they struggled, even when
Hmm.
we were on lockdown. But for us, that prospecting kept us going. Even we made a
Hmm.
better, stronger relationship with our clients. And when the time needed, like last year, we done a lot more business than our competitive agencies
Hmm.
around here.
Yeah. Yeah, when we work with a lot of business owners that are starting to actually establish a formal sales process, right? They're like, so they built their business to a point mainly on some good relationships, couple of early customers, and now they want to dial things up. It's like, okay, sales process needs to get put in place, and a sales process all relies on what's going in the top, right? And yes, you can get some opportunity coming in the top through marketing. That's fantastic, but depending on how significant your product or your service is, how expensive it is, you then need to do a lot of work to bring those leads to the point where they're ready to have a proper discussion or move them through the sales process. And just having conversations with them, having sales conversations, volume is the key.
It is the key. It is the key. Surely, I think that that's the number one thing I will really recommend to all the listeners. Until unless you are making a revenue you can't handle, you really need to be doing those basics. Really get in
Yeah,
touch with the clients and really finding what are the challenges they're
yeah,
facing and how you can solve their problems.
yeah. We work through a model here at the Entourage where we say that every business needs to both drive growth and enable growth. We have it in a circular diagram, and the drive growth activities up across like marketing, sales, and product, and then the enable growth are the things that sounds like dragged you down in those first couple of years, like operations, finance, people. But the thing is, you need both, and you need to be cycling. At first, you kind of cycle through drive, then cycle through enable, and then as the business gets bigger, you need to be doing all of it, right? Driving growth, enabling growth, driving growth, enabling growth. And so for you now today, I mean, Reliance is a much bigger business. You're almost 150 people. You got 10 offices. How much of your time are you spending on driving growth, and how much of your time you are spending on enabling growth? Do you think?
Look, I am still part of the operation. Look, if I talk in my language, still
Hmm.
part of the operation, but very minimum. I have my general manager. I have my other executives as well, head of the rental department. Three, four different executives. They are really on the operation side. I'm more on the
Hmm.
growth side. So
Hmm.
my main focus now is how I enable my people. Like this is our purpose, enabling people to fulfill their dreams. So
Hmm.
our purpose is to first of all to enabling our team, how we train them well, because we having some exceptional people joining our team. So how to fast track their success. And I
Hmm.
think in a conversation we were talking about how my whole focus is on them, how to
Hmm.
make them successful, because if they
Hmm.
are successful, I am successful, or
Hmm.
organization is successful.
Hmm.
Anyway, so that is my complete focus. Yesterday I spent about 3 hours in onboarding session with them, really explaining what is real estate and why it's long term and what is our purpose, why we wants to do the right thing by all
Hmm.
our clients, and
Hmm.
really have a great culture.
I love it. I don't think I haven't spoken to anyone for a long time that is still doing it so religiously day in, day out when they are, the head of the business, 150 people. No wonder you're growing so fast because, as you say, that's where opportunity comes from.
True, true, true. And it just becoming a ritual now, and I never wants to give it up, never wants to give it up.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Now you talked about culture then, and how that's another big part of what you focus on now, building a great culture. And so how do you do that? What are some of the key principles for you, particularly now that you've got such a big team?
It is very basic fundamentals of life, creating the equal opportunities for the team.
Hmm.
That is very fundamental. You wants to growth equal happiness, or progress equal happiness,
Hmm.
the way we see it. So we really in this year as well, we seeing, okay, which are our key people who have done an amazing well, how to upgrade them, or some of the
Hmm.
people who haven't done that well, how to really enhance their performance this year. So that is the complete focus. And when they own that level of performance, then we offer them other opportunities, either coming in the partner in the business, or having another team member plugged with them so they can do more transaction, more revenue to them, and along those lines. And also keeping the culture fun and celebration culture. So we celebrate things, we make sure we have fun along the way. And like on 29th of this month, we, or the whole Reliance team, 150 plus the team member, we're going for a soccer match, in the towards the city. So really keeping that culture high, and celebration is a major part of it as well. So
Yeah.
there are fundamentals, lot of fun things we do along the way, and at the same time, providing them with a growth opportunity, and really building a village, kind of a one team, one goal. Like we
Yeah.
are 10 different offices, but at the same time we consider this as one team, and all of us work really together to achieve our client's goal, and obviously our goals as well at the same time.
Yeah, interesting. And how much interaction and collaboration do all the different offices have? Is it at the point now where you have to deal with them in separate units, or do they all come together as well?
No, no, we do deal with them separate units, but we'll try to do at least once in a quarter. Either that's some sort of celebration, but most importantly, training.
Hmm.
Learning and growing is the major part of it, and correlation between the, like, if one office is doing something great, just open for inspection, or team management, or along those lines. So we have them presenting to the other teams. Okay, how they did do it. So they sort of all helping each other, and there is a significant amount of interaction with them.
Hmm.
And so it's becoming a rhythm now, really. we
Hmm.
we enable it, but it's sort of it's already happening, because that's
Hmm.
how we start, like, and from the beginning all the new guys start. So we give them that kind of expectations. You are
Hmm.
maybe joining one office, but you're still part of the bigger group and a bigger organization as such.
Great. Well, once you lay it all out, everyone's probably like, "Yeah, we're coming together a lot. We can see each other. We can see that we're part of one big team, and that's how you enhance culture across so many people, which is great." Hi, everyone. I just wanted to jump in here to let you know if you're enjoying this episode, it doesn't need to stop here. We've taken this episode plus all the other episodes and also video footage from the interviews and made it available for free. There's also a bunch of fantastic guides, tools, and resources you can use to grow your business. To grab those tools, just go to www.the-entourage.com/podcast. Right, let's get back into the show. We touched on briefly there that you were a member of the Entourage programs a number of years ago, where you and I first came across each other. Um, Now, I think cultural principles, cultural rituals is probably one of the things you picked up there, and it's great to see that you've done so much work implementing them. What were a couple of the other things that you took away and are maybe still being used at Reliance from your time with the Entourage?
I think the learning is unvaluable. What I learned from the Intraj, like with my group there, or the people I used to travel with, you can discuss any problem, any challenges, and nobody will judge you. They will provide you the real, because some of them going through the challenge, some of them already gone through the challenge,
Mm,
so they will
mm,
provide you their honest feedback. Being in a business, as you probably know as well more than me, is lonely place, especially
mm.
within your marketplace where you are. Nobody really wants to talk to you. You can't even show you are a, you are going through some challenge. You always need to be walk around like everything is fine, everything is good, you're killing it, along those lines. But the reality is way different than than what it sees from the front. And learning from some of the people, one of the thing is was all the speaker who were coming there, they were all genuine, they were all really doing it or
Mm,
done it. And one of the thing I also seeing when I going to Intraj is, I used to always think about, okay, my purpose is to learn, grow, and someday can be able to speak. And I did that. You speak at the conference in Intraj for an interview session, and possibly this one had a session with Jack Delosa as well. So there is some great learning. It's
yeah, great.
up to the individual how you make it.
Yeah. One of the things that you touched on there, what I absolutely love is, yeah, when you get business owners together, we do now that in masterminds, which we didn't have when you were a member, but we've launched masterminds a couple of years ago, and you bring together these different business owners from completely different industries. And at the beginning of the day, they're like, but how am I going to learn from these people in different industries? And you go, just trust us. Like, wait until once you table your challenges, you will be amazed at who's dealt with the same challenge, who's had a very similar experience, and by the end of the day, they're like, that is amazing. Like, I put my
That-
problem down on the table, and 10 business owners who are in completely different businesses were all like, oh, I've experienced exactly the same thing, or I'm going through it right now. And yeah, you just bounce off each other and then get a clear pathway forwards. It's empowering. It's amusing. I love seeing it happen. So I'm glad that you remember that being your experience as well. Well, and I also like to say that running a business or two businesses, there are far more similarities than there are differences. It doesn't matter what industry they're in, right? Like the things that the fundamentals of building a team, generating interest, sales, managing all the chaos, managing all the money, like those fundamentals are there no matter what your business is. And so you can always connect with another business owner around some of those and share some war stories and some frustrations.
100%. And that's relieving, like when you don't have to think, what you're sharing, you can openly talk about your challenge you're facing. And like it just you it's a great level of relief when you see the person who's sitting around you. Otherwise you feel like you are the only one going through this challenge. Oh my god, this is just
Yeah.
too hard. But when you hear others are going through it as well, they overcome it now, so that's give you a great level of belief,
Yeah.
to be persistent about it.
Well, the acceptance of running your own business or being an entrepreneur has massively increased in the last 20 years since I did an entrepreneurship degree at university when everyone was like, what? Like, I don't even understand what you're learning or what you're even talking about. And so the acceptance of it has massively increased, but still the vast majority of people, whether they're business owners or not, most of the people they know are not business owners. Like if you just think
Yeah.
about your family and your friends, and I think about my family and friends, I'm in this industry and I still think most of them don't own or run their own business. And so, yeah,
Mm,
to your point, unless you proactively build those networks with other business owners, you
100%.
are going to be a
Yeah.
little bit alone in some of these challenges because you can't go and talk to a non-business owner about like,
Yeah.
oh,
They won't understand.
everything's everything's
They
chaotic. I
won't
don't know what to do. My whole
understand.
livelihood's at risk. And someone who's just like a corporate employee will be like, I
Yeah.
don't get what the problem is.
True, true, true. And I think that's one of the things missing in the lockdown or COVID from last year and a half, Tim. I mean, I always made an effort to be in the like-minded people's company, or most importantly, even people who is thinking beyond and people who have already achieved the success I'm looking to achieve. But in last year and a half, in fact, I got an email just before, one of our um, business of real estate been just postponed again. It was end of
Mm,
February. I was really looking forward to that, but it's been
mm.
postponed. So that's I don't know how you're doing it, but it's that's definitely a big missing part within my journey from last year and a half or 2 years from this
Yeah.
lockdown and all.
We've had to change a lot of stuff because we have each year we'll have two retreats. So that's the members
Yeah,
coming together in, somewhere generally warm, tropical, very commonly an island. So we have the
yeah,
retreats twice a year, and then we also have assembly twice a year, which is everyone coming together for a bit more of a, normally in one of the cities. Um, there's some workshopping, there's some speakers, and they have a bit of fun together. Yeah, we've had
yeah.
to change those heaps over the last year and a half.
Obviously,
We managed to do some of them digital, but you can only do them so often digital, and we are looking forward to getting everyone together physically this year. I think we're almost at the point where we're all just going to do it anyway, like
yeah. We
not
all
too much
should.
further. And it's like,
Yeah,
right, that's it, we're getting together. Something I'd love to talk about, that I know you're kind of just starting to talk about, is a bit of your journey as an immigrant entrepreneur. So you moved to Australia from India in, I think it was 2004, and then you started your career as a door-to-door salesman, and then you got into real estate, and then you've built Reliance from there. What are some of the challenges that you faced along the way? What are some of the great milestones that you managed to achieve? I'd just love to hear a bit about that journey.
yeah. I think whatever we're doing now, especially there's a lot of immigrants, especially, and now more than ever, I feel we need more of that because there is a work, the staff shortage everywhere. Even Coles, Kmart is talking about. So we need those early workers, who can come and give us a hand in that. So in 2004, yes, I was a student of accounting, and I wanted to do law when I was graduating from there, but then obviously made a move here. So study accounting, and you rightly said door knocking, and I think I learned most of my skills, most of my confidence, most of the communication, and really built myself up by the door knocking. I think I did it for a good 2.5 to 3 years. In the beginning, language was a barrier, so really overcoming that, and then people start listening to you. You start selling one or two product here and there, and then from there really become one of the top performer, and then really progressed in that way. So I think that is a huge value, because you coming with maybe a $2,000, $3,000, and you need to pay bigger fees here. So there are a lot of those challenges you're facing, how to
Mm,
really going through that, in the beginning, and same like a business, it is the same, in many ways similar journey. So I already lived that hard part bit.
mm,
That's why, and I always been a learner or a reader in all my life. So reading through that, the journeys of some of the great people have really given me that confidence. And
mm,
so I think there's a lot of huge, like, you know unvaluable lessons in immigration journey from there to becoming a permanent resident of the country, and then obviously
mhm,
taking on the journey of, because once you do that, then if you really put your mind, your head to it, your focus to it, you can really achieve anything, because that
mm,
journey is in very very challenging, but it teach you like some the most important lessons for life, and importantly for business as well.
mm. And it must be really satisfying for you with Reliance Real Estate because you're in the west of Melbourne, which would have a high immigrant population. You're probably helping them get into the real estate market for the first time. Yeah, it's kind of like coming full circle. You're now helping them on their journey, which is it's amazing.
100%, and that's one of the our western suburb, as you said rightly. There is immigration population which becoming getting their Australian passport, or Australian citizens, and now they buying property because that's the next big thing for them. And
Mm,
eventually, that's how those are the areas we sort of targeting for our new ventures and for our current offices as well. So that's
yeah.
definitely been very rewarding.
Yeah, great. You're also right. I think even the most staunch, closed border Australians are probably questioning their decision or their mindset with all the staff shortages. It's just so apparent these days how dependent Australia is on bringing in workforce from overseas. And so hopefully, I know it's it's challenging for a lot of business owners out there right now. It is hard to find staff. There aren't, even over the holidays, I saw so many retail stores that just didn't have enough people, or hospo stores that just didn't have enough people to keep them open as much as they wanted to. So
True.
hopefully, this little bit of pain that everyone's experiencing means that on the other side we'll be like, open up, let's bring
Yeah.
people in. We'll
We
welcome
need
every.
to, otherwise it's no survival.
Yeah.
Even as you see, everything is inflation is one of the side effect of COVID or lockdown. Like everything
Hmm.
is inflated, even
Hmm.
properties, the food, anything, wine, anything, you name it. And if you don't bring the right amount of force, it is gonna be even more. That
Yeah.
is a major step, and I think that is why the country has allowing now, because from the people from last 2 years, that hardly any students or immigrants have really came into the country because of this
Mm.
lockdown.
Mm.
So I think we need to fast track that now.
Yeah, yeah. I reckon everyone will be happy to throw the borders open. Um, I do certainly recognise, and I recognise why hospitality is increasing their prices, and I encourage them to do so. I think we should all endorse that as well. Like these business
100%,
owners,
I agree. I agree.
all small business owners had some really really tough years. So for anyone listening, if you're out there and your local coffee shop has increased their prices by 30 or 50 cents, just happily smile and pay it. um,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of other things you can do as well. So, but it is about us business owners supporting each other. So, yeah, it's been a tough couple of years, but I'm glad, I'm glad you've navigated it really pretty well on the whole. Looks like you're still feeling pretty good, even though we're
Yeah,
going
no,
through another.
so pretty good. Yeah. I think the government or the country or the government did a very good job in the first year of
Yep.
lockdown. I think that was a great help.
Yep.
Obviously, the second one, even the market forces in our side, so we navigated well. And apart from
Yep.
that, when you have these down times, you really, when you bring back your focus to basics and learning and development, how you can utilize that time. So I
Yep.
think that's really bring that strength to you
Yeah.
and to the organization as such.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that we talk a lot about with our members is how it's in the challenging times, when, not if, but when you make it through them, it's those challenging times that you actually really get your fundamentals right. Like
Yeah,
if it's a tough time in the market, whether it's something through COVID or some other market shift, we've certainly experienced other market shifts over the years as well. When there's a market shift and things get hard, you make sure you got your foundations right, particularly on the finance side of the business, particularly on like just the fundamental operations. And so when you come out of those hard times, actually everything's ready to sing, which is when it gets really, really exciting. And so
true.
through the hard times, you do improve your business. You've got no choice but to improve your business. And then when it gets to good times again, because everything's cyclical, ready to rock and roll. Speaking of ready to rock and roll, we've got a couple of questions here that neither of us have seen. We call it Make It Happen in a Minute, where we run through 5 questions prepared by
Yeah.
Anna. Uh, they're always great questions. Sometimes we've touched on some of the areas. Sometimes we've touched on some of the areas, and sometimes that we haven't. So let's jump into these, and then I've got a couple more questions on the top of my head to ask as well once we've gone through these. All right. Question number 1: who's an athlete every entrepreneur should look up to, and why?
I have a different opinion in that one. I mean, I grew up around the cricket, like
Oh
so.
yeah.
Some of the great cricketer of Australia, or importantly, like Sachin Tendulkar, is a
Hmm.
great example, and I'm a fan of him to the end. When he was last game he played in 2012, he was training, and he knew that was his last game. He was still training and improving and trying to improve himself. So I
Mm.
think there are some great fundamental he provide, and I love that guy. Sachin Tendulkar will be my answer to that.
Yeah, great. That's a great answer. Question number 2. All right. In your book, From the Ground Up, there's 7 principles there for building a business fast. We've touched on a couple of them already, but do you have like one favorite principle?
Yes, the leadership is the principle. If I call the principle of the book, and to all the listeners here, I highly recommend to read through that. And I wish I knew this. And they're very basic, six sort of what I call subsections to that. And one of them is really being naive,
Mm-hmm.
and taking nothing personal.
Mm-hmm.
Being naive means, like, when you gut feel like you need to be doing this, even though not all the odds are in your favor or not all the ducks align, you're still doing it because you feel it, and because in
Hmm.
the business we need to have that mindset.
Hmm.
And also one of them is obviously not take things personal. That's the last one within that the leadership principle, because there's a lot of things happen team in the business where
Mm.
your own team member not do the right thing by you, they leave
Hmm.
you along the way, and the customer, a lot of those things. So we really need to learn how to not take things private. So the leadership principle, I
Yeah.
recommend everyone must read it.
Great. Excellent. Question number 3. What's been the most memorable personal or business development learning experience for you?
I think I would say writing a book.
Hmm.
Writing a book
Hmm.
has been challenge me in more ways than I can even think, Tim. Because me
Hmm.
coming from the English is my second language, immigration, and writing a book, everything was hard. Like, I'm
Hmm.
working with
Hmm.
you now, is when I was writing book, and it took me 3.5 years, on and off, on and off. So going home, finishing at 7, having a quick bite to eat and put the kids to bed, I tried to spend another 2 hours from 9:30 to 11:30 to improve maybe one page of the book, but I was so tired in my head and I couldn't even improve. And then maybe someday I plan to wake up 4 in the morning, and then say 4
Mm.
to 6 I'll just work on the book. And sometime I improved few things, sometime I find, oh no, it didn't really do as much as, and then whole throughout the day need to work as well. So I think that's break. But one thing happened is, once I released the book and it's getting so much recognition out there, it's really break all my limitation I have ever put it on me. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, yeah. I have spoken to a lot of people who've written books, and they're like, I had no idea of the journey I was about to go on when I started this thing.
Oh.
So it's so good that you spent 3.5 years persevering, and now you're getting the benefit of it out the other side. And you also just crystallized your thoughts, right? I think that's so important to be able to get everything that's in your head down into one place and convey it to others. So well done. Question number 4. We've touched kind of on this area, but there might be a little bit more. What's one sales skill every entrepreneur needs to learn?
I think prospecting. If you have enough prospect
Hmm.
on your database, or I talk to my client, my team as well, team on this. I say, look, if you only have one client you're seeing this week and you need to close, you're going to be desperate about closing. I need to close this deal with him,
Mm,
and
mm,
like, if you're my client, you can sense that somewhere. But if I have 3 appointments, or 4 appointments this week, I'm going to be pretty relaxed, I'm going to do my best, but I'm not going to sound
mm,
desperate. So I think without prospecting, nothing
mm.
happens in sale. Rather than having it one
Yeah.
or two prospect in a week, if you really work hard, you can have 4 to 5, and you really pick the
Mm,
business which is the most important for you. So
yeah.
prospecting
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
number one thing. I think there's nothing. Even closing doesn't come close to prospecting, because if you have enough prospect, they will close. You will learn that
Yep.
closing.
Yep, that's great. Yeah, yeah, because it's a numbers game, but I also love what you touched on there. It's a confidence and how you put yourself forwards, and people smell desperation a mile away. And so if you're going into a
Mile away.
conversation, and you have to be winning that business, actually the chances are you're not going to. But if you go in there confident, because you've got a lot of other great people to speak to, you know what a perfect prospect is. Fantastic, things are going to go well. Okay, last question. If someone felt like they were about to or already failed at something that they've just put their heart and soul into, what's one thing they can do to make it happen?
Okay, that's come in my book as well. One of the, and that's again in a leadership chapter. Action cure fear. You know, you
Mm,
need to act fast. Whatever, sometime, and it happens all the time to us as business owners, we seems to be failing on things. So, but what we need to do is, I used to have this. Like, whenever I have sort of a bad news, like, oh, that client left, or he's not giving us a business or anything like that, I used to make 5 phone calls straight after that. Five
mm-hmm,
phone calls. That's a
mm-hmm,
prospecting call, that's someone I need to talk to, and that will really overcome on that news. Otherwise I can drill over on that thing, and that can really ruin my half of the day. So I think action cure fear. Whatever you fearful
mm,
for, you think, okay, you're losing this, take some actions immediately,
mm,
rather than thinking, oh,
mm-hmm,
next week I'm going to do. No, 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 next week, do it now, do it this evening, in fact do it right after after that. So you make few phone calls, you talk to few people, you meet with few people and seek some help. Or most importantly, if that's a business you're losing, see where else you can get that, is there
Mm.
someone else you haven't been in touch with? So I think action cure fear. Anything if we're fearful about we're going to lose or losing, take some action. Either that's a small or big action. Take some actions towards that.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't wallow in it. Just get to work, and something will come out of it. I think that's really my key takeaway or lesson from you this whole time is just like ritualizing that action with a particular focus on opportunity generation, whether that be
Yeah.
prospecting or partnerships or whatever it is in someone else's business. But it's like, all make sure you're doing that every day in, day out. And if something goes bad, well, then you do even more of it because then you create
Even more of
opportunity.
it, exactly. That's it. Like, the day, I mean, for me, the day I'm not feeling productive, like by 4:35, and I'm not feeling and a product, I'll make even more phone calls, so
Yeah.
I finish my day on stronger. I feel like I've done and achieved something.
There's a
So that's it.
there's a saying, eat that frog, which means like do the thing that you don't want to do first. I actually think that you take this to a whole new level, and you're like, the frog is the main course, and the
Yeah.
entree, and the dessert. Just get it done. All right, Sunil. That's been really great to chat. Really great to talk about your journey a little bit more. I mean, I've loved seeing the business go from strength to strength over the years. Some great principles there in from the ground up. I'm glad we got to cover some of those. So thank you very much for coming on the show, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, team. Thank you very much for having us. It's always great to talk and to encourage. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, mate. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Make It Happen show. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And it doesn't need to end there. We've actually gone and grabbed a whole bunch of extra resources for you. Behind the scenes footage, videos from this and all the other episodes, as well as show notes that you can grab for free. Just head along to www.the-entourage.com/podcast and you can grab all those extra resources. Thanks for tuning in, and I cannot wait to introduce you to our next guest on the next episode.